Good morning, I am Dr. Janada from the Department of English, Sri Ayyappa College for Women, Chungangadai. I am here to give a short lecture on the analysis of Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter, which is prescribed by Manonmaniam Sundarnar University for the first BA students.
Let's start with the author's biography. Nathaniel Hawthorne, an American novelist, dark romanticist, and short story writer, was born on July 4, 1804 in Salem, Massachusetts. He graduated from Bowdoin College in 1825. In 1836, he served as the editor of the American Magazine of Useful and Entertaining Knowledge. He has also contributed short stories to many magazines and annuals such as N. Goodman Brown, The Minister's Black Veil. He worked as weigher and gauger at the Boston Custom House. In 1846, he was officially appointed as the surveyor of the Custom House for Salem and Beverly District and the inspector of the revenue for the Port of Salem. He died on May 19, 1864 in Plymouth, New Hampshire and buried at Concord, Massachusetts. Longfellow wrote a tribute to Hawthorne in 1866 named The Bells of Lynn. Hawthorne's works belong to Romanticism, or more specifically dark romanticism. Cautionary tales suggest that sin, guilt and evil are inherent natural qualities of humanity. Most of his works are inspired by the Puritan New England combining historical romance with symbolism and deep psychological themes bordering on surrealism. His vast depiction of America and the life of the people is used only as a vehicle to express the common themes such as ancestral sins, guilt and retribution. Hawthorne published his debut novel Fanshake in 1828. The Scarlet Letter was published in 1850. The House of Seven Gables, The Blithedale Romance, the first-person narrative, The Life of Franklin Pierce, a campaign biography of his friend, and Marble Fawn in 1860. Wrinkled with time and trouble, failing health prevented Hawthorne from completing 3 novels. He has written 8 short story collections and 3 non-fiction and a number of critical writings which were edited into anthology. Hawthorne maintained close relationship with his publishers William Ticknor and James Thomas Field. In fact, it was Field who convinced Hawthorne to turn The Scarlet Letter into a novel rather than a short story. Hawthorne returned to writing and published The Scarlet Letter in the mid-1850 with a preface that refers to the 3-year tenure of the author in the Custom House. It is one of the first mass production books of America, selling 2,500 copies within 10 days. It is his most lucrative period as a writer. With The Scarlet Letter, Hawthorne was the first American to forge from the Puritan heritage a universal, classical, masterful exploratory of humanity's never-ending suffering of sin, guilt and pride. The Scarlet Letter is set in Boston in the mid-1600s. It is a romance and a historical novel. Let us see the characters now. Hester Prynne is the protagonist of the novel and the wearer of the Scarlet Letter that gives the book its title. Pearl is the daughter of Hester, a naughty child who has a special ability to perceive what others do not. Roger Chillingworth is the antagonist of the novel and Hester's husband in disguise. Arthur Dimmesdale earned fame as a theologian in England and later emigrated to America. He has apparently had an affair with Hester and he is the father of Pearl. Governor Bellingham is a gentleman and a traditional English aristocrat. Mistress Hibbins is the sister of Governor Bellingham and she is a widow, and she is always pictured in this novel as a witch who ventures night rides into forest with a black man. And to talk about John Wilson, he is an elder clergyman, a stereotypical Puritan father. The next character is the unnamed narrator. So now coming to the plot overview, the plot starts from exposition, conflict, rising action, climax, falling action, and at last resolution. We'll see that in detail. The Scarlet Letter starts with a long preamble about how the book is to be written. The narrator of the novel worked as a surveyor in the custom house, and he found a lot of documents in the attic of the custom house. He also found a manuscript bundled with a scarlet golden embroidered cloth with the shape of A. The former surveyor of the custom house has detailed all the events that had happened 200 years before from the narrator's time. When the narrator lost the post in the custom house, he decided to write a fictional account of the events that were described in the document. The Scarlet Letter is the final product. The story begins in the 17th century Boston, a Puritan settlement. A young woman, Hester Prynne, is led from the prison with a child in her arms and a scarlet letter on her breast. And a man in the crowd informs the elderly man that Hester is being punished for adultery. Hester's husband, who is much older than she is, sent her to America and never he returned to Boston. While waiting for her husband, she apparently had an affair with a man and she has given birth to a child. Hester is now brought in front of the public and she is questioned by the town fathers about the identity of the child's father. Hester will not reveal the identity of her lover and she is ready to face the punishment. The elderly onlooker is Hester's husband, Roger Chillingworth, who is practicing medicine and settles in Boston to intend revenge. He never revealed his identity to anyone but Hester, to whom he has sworn to secrecy. Several years passed and Hester earned her life by working as a seamstress, and Pearl started growing an impish child. Shunned by the community, Hester and her child lived in a small cottage on the outskirts of Boston. When the community people tried to take Pearl away from Hester, with the help of Arthur Dimmesdale, the mother and the daughter managed to live together. Dimmesdale, however, appears to be wasting his life under the psychological stress that Hester is only punished for the sins. Seeing this, Roger Chillingworth tries to take Dimmesdale with him so that he can provide round-the-clock care for him. Meanwhile, Chillingworth suspects Dimmesdale that his stress and Hester's secret has a connection. Unfortunately, one afternoon, Chillingworth discovers a mark in the breast of Arthur Dimmesdale that convinces that his suspicions are correct. Dimmesdale obviously feels anguish and he started and trying to find out new torments for him. Hester arranges an encounter with Dimmesdale in the forest, and the two lovers decide to flee to Europe with Pearl to live as a family. They arranged their passages in a ship which is to sail from Boston in 4 days. Both of them feel relaxed and Hester lets down her hair and threw the Scarlet Letter. The day before the ship is to sail, the town people arranged a celebration and Dimmesdale went to the church to give an eloquent sermon. Hester very well knows that Chillingworth has known about the plan of these two, and he also books a ticket in the ship. Dimmesdale, leaving the church after the sermon, sees Hester and Pearl near the scaffold. He impulsively mounts the scaffold with Hester and Pearl and acknowledges publicly his lover and the child and falls dead. Pearl kisses her father. Frustrated with revenge, Chillingworth dies a year after. Hester and Pearl leaves Boston and no one knows what happened to both of them. After so many years, Hester returns to the Boston wearing the Scarlet Letter. She comes to live in the small cottage to continue her charitable deeds and live in Boston. She receives occasionally letters from Pearl, who has married a European aristocrat and settled well with family. Later, when Hester dies, she is buried near Dimmesdale and both of them shared one tomb with a Scarlet Letter A. There ends the story of the Scarlet Letter. We all know that there are so many questions very important to be discussed in the Scarlet Letter. The most important one is themes and motifs. Themes and motifs are little different. Motifs are recurrent ideas, messages, symbols that explains or helps the themes. Themes are central message or idea. First, let us see about the themes. The themes: sin, knowledge and human condition. Sin and knowledge are linked in the Judeo-Christian religion. The Bible begins with the story of Adam and Eve, who were expelled from the Garden of Eden for tasting the fruit from the tree of knowledge. The experience of Hester and Dimmesdale recalls the story of Adam and Eve, for in both cases, the result of sin is expulsion and suffering. But here, it also results in knowledge. For Hester, the Scarlet Letter functions as a passport into the regions where other women dared not tread, leads Hester to speculate about her society and herself very boldly than anyone else. As for Dimmesdale, the burden of sin gives him sympathy so intimate with the sinful brotherhood of mankind so that his heart vibrates in unison with them. Hester and Dimmesdale contemplate their sinfulness on a daily basis, and to reconcile that, they live by their experiences. Thus, they view sin as a threat to the community, which is to be suppressed and also punished. For Hester and Dimmesdale, the state of sinfulness served something for them to grow personally and to understand others. Next is the nature of evil. The characters in the novel frequently debate the identity of the black man as the evil in the story. Over the course of the novel, the black man is associated with Dimmesdale, Roger Chillingworth and Mistress Hibbins. The book argues that true evil arises not in the close relationship of love and hatred. There is no evil in the lovemaking of Hester and Dimmesdale, or not even in the cruel ignorance of the Puritan father. Evil in its most poisonous form is found in the carefully plotted and precisely aimed revenge of Chillingworth, whose love has been perverted. Hester's behavior is premised on her desire to determine her own identity. To her, running away, removing the letter would be an acknowledgement of the society's power over her. Instead, Hester says, the Scarlet Letter is a symbol of her own life and her past. Her past sin is the part of her life To pretend that it never happened to her is like denying a part of her life itself. Thus, Hester determinedly integrates the sin into her life. Dimmesdale also struggles against socially determined identity. As the community's minister, he is seen more as a symbol than as a human being. Except for Chillingworth, all the anguish and the pain and the stress of the minister is seen as holy. Next, we'll see the female independence. Hawthorne exploits the theme of female independence by showing how Hester boldly makes a decision and how she is able to take care of herself. Hester is cast out of the community and she is given the freedom to live a life of whatever she likes. She also has the practical responsibility to bring up her child. She never goes away from Boston. She lives in the small cottage on the outskirts of Boston, very boldly parenting her child. The most memorable and original aspect of Scarlet Letter is that Hawthorne's Hester Prynne is the first true American heroine in the fiction. And she becomes the archetype of the free-thinking American woman grappling within herself and her sexuality in the cold patriarchal world. In the Scarlet Letter, the town and the surrounding forest represent opposing behavioral system. The town represents civilization and the rule-bound space where everything one does is on display and where transgressions are quickly punished. The forest, on the other hand, is a natural place not bound by human authority. In the forest, society's rules do not apply and alternate identities can be assumed. For example, Mistress Hibbins' night rides is an escape from the repression of Boston. Hester and Dimmesdale, when they are in the forest, they become a happy lovers once again. Hester's cottage, significantly located on the outskirts of Boston and edge of the forest, embodies both orders. It is a place of exile which ties it to the authoritarian town, but because it lies apart from the settlement, she is free to create her own life of relative peace. Next we see night versus day. By emphasizing the alternation between sunlight and darkness, the novel organizes the plot's event into two categories: those which are socially acceptable and those which must take place covertly. Daylight exposes an individual's activity and makes him or her vulnerable to punishment. Night, on the other hand, conceals and enables activities that could not happen in the day or not tolerated by the people. So, for example, the meeting of Hester and Dimmesdale on the scaffold in the night, when the meteor marks dull red A in the night sky, and also Dimmesdale exposing a scarlet letter seared into the flesh of his breast. Next we will see evocative names. The names in the novel are often seen to be allegorically interpreted. The name Chillingworth is cold and passive, and as the name gives, he brings chill into the life of Hester and Dimmesdale. Prynne rhymes with sin, while Dimmesdale suggests dimness, lack of insight, lack of boldness that characterizes the young minister. The name pearl evokes a biblical allegorical device, that is, a pearl of great price, that is salvation. The system of naming lends a profundity to the story, linking it to the other allegorical literary works such as The Pilgrim's Progress and some portions of Bible. The moral of the story, according to the author, is be true. Yet another instance of irony, since the contents of the preceding pages are mere fiction. The scaffold plays a pivotal role in the novel. The scaffold holds a connection to Hester throughout her life, and it becomes a symbol of her identity. There are 3 scaffold scenes in the novel. The first scaffold scene appears in chapter 1 to 3, and Hester's punishment is to wear the scarlet letter and withstand 3 hours public shame with all the principal characters before Boston community. The second scaffold scene appears in chapter 12. 7 years after, we see Dimmesdale on the scaffold. The momentary flash of light in the night sky symbolically foreshadows the approaching public disclosure of Dimmesdale's scarlet letter. The third scaffold scene appears in chapter 23. The novel's action culminates in the final scaffold scene. It mirrors Hester's scaffold scene, though she comes from prison and he comes from the church. Dimmesdale reveals his scarlet letter, for he has come to realize the only way to attain peace is to declare guilt. Now we come to the end of the lecture. I think that this lecture will be useful to my students. It will help them to understand the nuances of the scarlet letter. Thank you.